Hey, welcome back to another episode of Genre Files. Today we're doing a science fiction, and this little creature just showed up out of nowhere. What do you think? One of my little robot pals. As you can see, I'm up to date on all the latest technology, right? So, okay, Genre Files. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of focusing on just one film, I'm going to talk about 4 different films very briefly. Last week I had kind of a science fiction marathon going on at home here. I watched 3 films in rapid succession, and then a couple of days later I watched another one. So let me talk about what I watched last week. They're all very different. The first one is called, let me get this title correctly, War Between the Planets, which is on this nice double bill with Creation of the Humanoids from Dark Sky Films. Very nice package, by the way. War Between the Planets is an Italian-made science fiction movie directed by a guy named Antonio Margheriti under his English pseudonym Anthony Dawson. And he made, this is a cool little film with very 60s special effects. I think it came out about 1966, 67, something like that. Margheriti made a series of 4 science fiction movies called Gamma 1. And he made, supposedly, according to what I read on Wikipedia, he made all 4 of these films in 3 months, and they were supposed to be released to television. And let's see, the titles were Wild Wild Planet, which I've heard of and I've never seen, War of the Planets, War Between the Planets, which is what I watched, and then something called Snow Devils. So I've never seen the other 3. This is kind of, let's see, what is the plot of this movie? When a series of natural disasters plague civilization, scientists learn that the culprit is a seemingly barren planet set on a collision course with Earth. A team of astronauts is sent to counter the impending Armageddon, but after landing on the wayward planet, they discover that it has a bloodthirsty life of its own. Ooh, how creepy is that? I was having a lot of fun watching this movie, and then after a while I fell right to sleep. I don't think it was the film. It's once again me having to learn again and again that I can't have a glass of wine before I go upstairs to watch movies. So I will get around to watching it again. But it had very cool kind of early Star Trek kind of special effects and spaceships and all that sort of thing. I had a lot of fun watching it when I wasn't sleeping. Okay, the next one I watched, Superman Returns, which I picked this up used somewhere at some point, thinking that I might want to watch it someday, and then it sat on the shelf gathering dust, as so many of my movies do. And then lately, a lot of my friends have been talking about superhero films and the Marvel films, the DC and all that. So I thought, what the hell, let's see what this is like. And you know, I actually like this movie. I thought the guy that played Superman, Brandon Routh, he resembled Christopher Reeve enough where he kind of brought back that cool feeling of the early films. And I thought it was pretty well done. Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane took me a while to sort of get accustomed to, but after a while I liked her. Frank Langella as Perry White. Yeah, Perry White. That's Perry White. Yeah. Did I say right? Perry White. Kevin Spacey made a very good villain, and they even had little cameo appearances by Jack Larson and Noel Neill from the early film. Eva Marie Saint was in it. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good film. So anyway, I don't know what the general superhero comic book film community feels about that, but I thought it was good. Then I watched this classic from 1961 called Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which I couldn't remember. I had this vague idea that I may have seen this way back in the day, but I wasn't sure. And when I actually sat down to watch it, there wasn't anything about it that I remembered. So I don't think I ever saw it, maybe just some parts of it. Great cast of actors: Walter Pidgeon, Joan Fontaine, Robert Sterling, Michael Lanzara, Barbara Eden, Peter Lorre, and Frankie Avalon, who actually sang the title song. And produced and directed by Irwin Allen, 1961. Very good adventure story where these people under the command of Walter Pidgeon, who's playing a role not unlike what he played in Forbidden Planet as Dr. Morbius, but he's the commander of this nuclear submarine, and when they start to see things going on underwater up in the North Sea, they realize that there's been some sort of a meteor shower that affected the Earth, so that there's a ring of fire around the planet, which is threatening to heat up the Earth and destroy all life. And that's a very prescient plot line, considering what we're going through today with climate change and all these great fears and these great challenges. But so this guy decides that the only way to prevent this from happening and destroying the Earth is to fire a nuclear missile at this ring of fire and destroy it. And so they're trying to go to this special place where they have to fire the missile at just the right moment, and they encounter all kinds of problems, such as the giant squid. They also encounter sabotage on the ship, and they try to figure out who is it that sabotaged them. Very well done. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So it was great fun, and a nice Blu-ray edition and all that. And finally, I watched Star Trek the Motion Picture. Yeah, Star Trek the Motion Picture. Which my reason for picking this, two reasons. Number one, my friend Ian had watched it, and he put a note on Facebook, and then some of us were kind of discussing it a little bit. And I made a snarky comment about how some people call this Star Trek the slow motion picture, and that a lot of Trekkies are kind of sort of divided on how they feel about it in comparison to the other Star Trek movies. But I finally decided to watch it again when September 8th came around, and it was Star Trek Day, and I wanted to do something special to celebrate that day. So I watched this again. I've seen it several times. Have never seen it on the big screen, but I like it more every time I see it. I do think that it's kind of has a few flaws here and there, but overall I think it's a beautifully made movie that brings back well, it brought the series back. 10 years after Star Trek had gone off television, and the Star Trek fan base had kept it alive all those years and dreaming about some sort of a comeback. The people who produced the original Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, they toyed with the idea of starting a new TV series. Then they crashed that idea, and then they talked about a film. Then they went back to the idea of a TV series. Well, so in 1977, Star Wars came out, and then also Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And they thought that the way to go would be make this epic film. So they put a lot of money into it, and they hired Robert Wise, who was a great director of epics, and they made this very beautiful film. And I made a video about this movie a couple of years ago where I talked about how, in my opinion, Star Trek the Motion Picture is, in many ways, it's kind of a meditative exercise on the whole concept of Star Trek. Just the way they made everything look so iconic and sort of over-dramatic. For example, early in the film where Scotty is taking Captain Kirk back to the Enterprise in this very long flight in this shuttle, as you see more and more of the Enterprise with Captain Kirk just looking on in wonder, and I can imagine what it was like for all the Trekkies at the time, which I was not one of them at all, and to be able to once again see the Enterprise in all of its big screen glory after waiting 10 years. And I think that it has a lot to do with just bringing back the love of Star Trek and making it an epic thing, not just sort of a cult thing. So I actually like this movie very much, and it no longer seems too long or too slow to me at all. I enjoy it thoroughly. So that's it. I guess that's all I want to say. Apologies to Ian for talking about the same film that he did. I hope you don't mind. Ian did a really terrific commentary on this, so make sure that you watch it. And I'm sure that James and I hope Harry also will have videos up for Genre Files. Thanks for watching, and my friend and I are glad you joined us. Comments are welcome.